It's time for Beg Knows America, where we find the heart in every story. So this week, CBS News contributor David Begnaud is focused on how we can all get happier in the new year. He's helped by a guest who knows a lot about that very subject.
This morning, as we celebrate the start of 2025, we wanted to explore some important insights that might lead you to live a better and happier life in the year ahead. And who better to help with that than Arthur Brooks? Arthur is a professor at Harvard University who studies the science of happiness. He also writes the popular How to Build a Life column at The Atlantic. Arthur, good morning. Happy New Year.
Hi, David. Happy New Year to you, too.
So let's talk about New Year's resolutions.
Yes, indeed.
How do they work?
Yeah, a lot of people make them. About 50% of Americans make a New Year's resolution. Most of them fail. Most of them fail really, really quickly. And the big reason is because, well, they're too big. To have a successful resolution, you need something small, something measurable that will reward your brain, the reward centers of your brain, and say, I'm making progress. Break it down into small pieces. Small pieces lead up to big results.
Let's talk about small resolutions. It might include things like gratitude lists.
Yeah.
Practicing forgiveness.
Absolutely. I recommend gratitude lists because, the brain is dedicated more to resentment than it is to gratitude. See, here's the thing. 250,000 years ago, resentment, suspicion, anger, that's the kind of thing that will keep you alive, keeps you vigilant. But the truth of the matter is that gratitude is something that's more appropriate to us today because we don't have all these threats. Our brains are attuned to things that make us feel negative about our life. What we need to do is to pay attention manually to the positive. So a good New Year's resolution is every Sunday for the next year, every Sunday, it just takes a minute. I'm going to write down the 5 things I'm most grateful for. And then every day during the week, I'm going to look at it for just a couple of minutes, updating it on Sundays. You will, within 10 weeks, be between 10 and 20% happier, and that will become a pattern, a habit.
Now, some of you might be thinking about some bigger changes in the new year. Stephanie Sanford from Washington, D.C. says Arthur's book, From Strength to Strength, inspired her to rethink her priorities and change jobs. Watch this.
I led external relations for the College Board, so I ran our Washington office. I traveled a lot over the last 25 years. So it's David's 65th birthday. It's David Moore, he's my fabulous husband. It's a Monday morning, and I'm supposed to be in Rhode Island by noon for a meeting. And I get up that morning and I see that my flight's been canceled. And so I go into full bore Stephanie the machine mode, trying to figure out how to get to this meeting. I finally figure it out. Planes, trains, automobiles. Gotta go. Bye, sweetie. Love you. Happy birthday. So I get to the plane and I decide I'm not gonna look at the briefing book again. I'm gonna read my new book. And that's Strength to Strength. I come to this sentence and it says, she saw herself as a high performance machine. I'm like, Stephanie the machine, that's me. And then I get a little further in and it says, the workaholic's most serious relationship is their job. And so they travel on birthdays and anniversaries. And then I'm like, and I am sitting on a plane on the way to a meeting on his 65th birthday. And so I said, I'm turning around and going home. There's always going to be another meeting, but there's only one you. So I'm coming home. It was just like this moment, like fate tapping you on the shoulder. Oh my gosh, this is a sign. I think our relationship is better. It's, I certainly am much more present. I am happier. I'm happier. It feels more calm, balanced, and intentional. I've certainly heard that maxim that nobody gets to the end of their life and says, I wish I spent more time at the office. And I remember thinking as a much younger person that maybe you just didn't have a cool enough job. And I think what happened on that flight was that old aphorism all of a sudden rang true to me.
I love Stephanie's story, and I saw myself in her story for a moment after years of traveling as a news correspondent. And in fact, strength to strength basically begins where you had your own airplane revelation.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, you write, is there any way to get off the hamster wheel of success and accept inevitable professional decline with grace and maybe turn it into an opportunity?
Yeah, the thing is that I learned in my research is that everybody's life changes. And the truth of the matter is that you have new skills, you have new gifts, but you can't find them unless you leave the past in the past. And that means changing when it's appropriate to change.
What is the key to successfully changing a job?
You have to be courageous, number one. You have to have a sense of adventure, number two. And number three, you have to know why you're leaving the job you currently are leaving. See,
And why is that important?
well, the thing is that people are afraid because they don't know if the new one's going to be better than the old one. You will dramatically increase the odds of having a good experience in your new job if you know very clearly the reason you're leaving your old job, because then you'll know what to look for. And that's the key thing in any sort of a big change like that.
For folks that can't just get up and leave their jobs, how do they find renewed happiness in this new year?
There's a hack for anybody, no matter how unhappy you are with your job, and that's look for a way to make people happier around you. So I'll give you an example.
Oh.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, get up, go to the break room, make a fresh pot of coffee, bring it back unasked to the guy in the next cubicle and say, you know what? You look like you could use a fresh cup of coffee. And look at the look on his face. And you'll become that person who brings people things that they didn't even ask for. And guess what? Weirdly, you're going to start liking your job more.
Boy, David, I love Stephanie's story too, where she said there's always going to be another meeting, but there's only going to be one you. I love that. It's going to resonate with a lot of people. You know, Arthur always studies happiness, we know this, but he also told you that it's important to be unhappy sometimes. What does he mean by that?
Well, he preaches that happiness requires unhappiness. In fact, he told me that we're never going to avoid or eliminate those negative emotions. So it's important to learn how to manage them, to cope with them. In fact, Arthur is emphatic in saying that being fully alive, experiencing all of the emotions, is the secret to happiness. In fact, he puts it this way: you're not going to know what's beautiful and wonderful in this life unless you see the opposite in your life as well.
Yeah, it does feel true. I really like the tip, David, of putting down the 5 things on a Sunday that you are most grateful for in your life, and then having them with you during the week to remind you.
It's all about paying attention. So many things happen in our life that we just sort of gloss over and not realize, you know, that was a pretty good moment.
Yeah.
And now it's really paying attention, be intentional about what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Right about that,
So
David.
when I bring you coffee this afternoon,
Nate, here's your
Nate, say,
coffee, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, Tony, you're so
Right there,
sweet. David, we appreciate you. Thank you, man. You did it again. Awesome stuff.